Gotta pay to play. Got one side of the lift installed. Just mounts to the inner tie rod, it mounts to the inner shock mount, to the outer shock mount, and then down. There is a low setting, which is the upper one, and then a higher setting, which is the lower one. Since he's running the stock axles, I'm just going to keep it at the lower setting. I don't know if it's like a difference between 2 or 3 inches or whatever, but that's where I'm going to keep it for now until he upgrades. And I'm going to take just the sway bar off so he gets a little bit better articulation, or more independently, and we'll go from there. So I'm not sure if I filmed the final portion of this because I did move it away quite a bit from the header or the exhaust with a 90/45 up to a stock piece and then straight up. And then once that's all said and done, it'll be perfectly level. This one will be perfectly level. Basically all these are just gonna be moved over to the center. Got the AT&T tower there until I get that situated. Then the belt exhaust can come down to a 45 piece. That's it, all that part, because that hasn't changed. 22.5, 22.5, and up. They're all tucked away better when that's all done. So snorkel portion's done. Moving on to the front lift kit from Super ATV on the Ranger. There's a little bit more involved. You got to change out the inner tie rods, the tie rods and the ends. The new boots, comes with all the hardware for that. You have to space up the differential because if not then the axle will hit. So we got some plates here. They do supply the new bolts for the difference. So throw those on with some Loctite, and got our 2 brackets. All these brackets and all the fronts are the same. So there's all 4. It's gonna go in there like that. Highest setting, lowest setting, stock, stock. Got one of the tie rods out. There's a difference between the Super ATV size and the stock size. Went to O'Reilly's there, and they actually had a brand new inner tie rod puller. Comes with all these different sizes, which I felt good about, but it's going to be the 29mm to get the stock one off, and then the 1 5/16 to put on the new Super ATV one. It was like $89 something. There's a part number. Get 100% of your money back on that when you take it back, but it makes the job way easier. There's not much room in there to get a crescent wrench or any type of pliers or anything in there, so, and you're going to need the torque. Okay, sorry that it took so long, but a little tip to watch out for, that with this one here, these little tangs that slip into the socket there, it was actually hitting partially on the frame right there. I mean, ever so slightly. So there's a opening right there where you need to push it all the way in so this thing can ride in there and clear, because it won't clear anywhere else right here. So you gotta push it in, get it set into the holder, push, turn it all the way in, and then you got plenty of room to turn it, and then it'll come out. Okay, so we're going to be installing these tie rod ends from Super ATV, the inners. Now I don't have I couldn't find a torque spec anywhere. I want to say that it was 35, but 35 wasn't enough, so I'm going to go ahead and put 50 on there. There you go. case I didn't film that part, I put the spacers underneath the front differential, and I did have to drill those out a little bit. I think it was to 3/8 or ½ inch, something like that. The holes on it just weren't quite lining up enough to be able to get the both bolts up through one spacer and tie it in evenly, so I did have to drill those out. I don't know if it's powder coating or just a hair off, which, I mean, I kind of doubt it from them, but maybe it was something I did, but I just had to drill them out, and they went up smoothly past that. Also got all the boots, the inner and outer zip ties on there. Everything is adjusted right. All the nuts are locked down. The Z-bars are straight. Good angles on everything. Steers fine. So with this build, like I said, I'm not sure exactly how he rides or what his plans are, so I'm trying to leave this one up a little more versatile. So that's why we went with the OMC gasket. Perfect fit like the one in Kevin's. Ready to put it back together. All the clutches are installed. See me do plenty of them before. Secondary 17, primaries 40. Make sure you can read the belt going away. Got the new clutch on there. Cleaned out the secondary. New gasket sealed up on the back side of the housing. So ready to put in the new one. Throw on the snorkels. Kind of finished up with the snorkel here. What I did with the front differential is I ended up putting a bellow on it that I had. The bellow should be fine for the speed of a Ranger and everything he does. I might change it later, but I mean, I doubt I'll need to. Went ahead and did the cap, radiator cap like that. Wrapped a few loops in it, routed it back down. That will create a air trap. Got his gas tank snorkeled or vented. Put a new radiator hose on there. His other one kept popping off. I do have that looped and ran back into the air box down there. The air box is all siliconed up. Here is a shot of the snorkels. I did end up putting like 5 wraps of heat tape on that just to keep it away from the header, even though it is farther away than I originally planned. 2, I was able to space that out, come up, use a factory piece with a factory piece down there. Up. I ended up going from 1.5" to 2" rubber couplings. That way, if he wants to either raise these up or lower them, he can. And it just gives a little bit more wiggle room, less strain off everything else when you use the rubber. So everything is tight. We'll come around to this side. Here's a shot of the belt exhaust. Snorkel going up at the belt intake. He wanted the 45 straight tips on there past the 90s just to keep water and debris out. Everything is snorkeled. The rear transfer case, like I said, and that's where the, I don't know if we can see it, but down there, that is where the crankcase vent goes into. Everything is dielectric grease, front, dash, rear plugs, every kind of plug is dielectric greased. Everything is nice and tight back down. He is ready to go ride now. And also with the bed cut out, that's how much I cut out on the bed. So that way when it gets closed, that is the spacing for it. I might put like a rubber trim ring around that, but overall it's fitting nicely. Once that gets done, along with, like I said, the lift was all done, this thing will be put the seat back on. It'll be ready to go.